Keene, New Hampshire, the capital of libertarian civil disobedience. The folks over at freekeene.com believe this is the place you should be if you believe in peaceful non-cooperation. freekeene.com invites you to the beautiful hills of western New Hampshire and invites you to join their peaceful revolution. freekeene.com.
Dave Ridley here with, as usual, a take on the day's big news that you will not hear from the mainstream press. They will tell you today that one of the nation's top biodefense researchers committed suicide in relation to the anthrax attacks and his expected prosecution for it. ABC News website today says, quote, one of the nation's top biodefense researchers has apparently taken his own life just as the FBI zeroed in on him as a suspect in the deadly 2001 anthrax attacks. In other words, it was a government worker who attacked us. An employee of the United States military, a man well paid to allegedly defend us. Assuming, that is, the FBI report, or the FBI approach and suspicions were accurate, which I suppose we should not assume. But what's interesting here is that, of course, for years there have been people, weaving these conspiracy theories about 9/11 and saying that was something done by the government. Well, here's the government telling us that it thinks the government did the other serious attack of the month, the 9/18 anthrax attacks. That's why I always say there's no need to go looking for conspiracy theories and dig things up. There's plenty of stuff the government will admit it did that was just absolutely awful, although of course in this case it was possibly just a single government worker doing it. But my question is, when does the soul searching begin about the government? Where in the mainstream media will we see concerns and a demonization process against the government similar to the one they levied against militias in the mid-90s? After the Oklahoma City bombing carried out by probably a duo or trio of disgruntled American citizens, one or two of whom had been to one or two militia meetings, people in those days lost their jobs for even talking about militias in a friendly way. We were subjected to town hall meetings asking ourselves, is there violent extremism in America's heartland? And of course there was some, and there was something to the question, but when are we going to be getting these, town hall meetings and media exposés on extremism in the United States government? Violent extremism in the United States government. Will we see the kind of broad brush attack on the government as a result of this that we saw on the militia movement? Or will the government's role in this be downplayed? By the way, just a reminder, the attacks that occurred were directed heavily against Democrat senators who opposed and were holding up the Patriot Act. Tom Daschle and Patrick Leahy. The speculation has been for a long time that the person who levied the attack did it as a sort of misguided attempt at beefing up American defenses against bioterrorist attack. In other words, it seems he wanted more government spending on homeland security. Again, where will be the searching questions in our media today? Where and when will they begin looking at the way we spend money on our government, if it even is our government? Allegedly giving money to people who are supposed to protect us, who end up most of the time wasting that money, misprotecting us, and sometimes using it to attack us. The anthrax attacks were not directed exclusively against the government. They went against private media outlets, several private media outlets. In a way, it was an attack not just on the American government, but on the American people. And according to the government, A government worker did it. And also, to what extent will the 9/11 truthers jump on this? I hope they do, and I hope they will focus again a little more on stuff we know the government has done, or stuff that the government has told us that it's done. Oh, by the way, Patrick Leahy, Senator Leahy, also opposed the Military Commissions Act. Maybe we should pray for him. Daschle has already been thrown out of office. Of course, the anthrax attacks were used as an excuse to push through all kinds of bad government programs that had inflicted great harm on our civil liberties and great expense on the taxpayer. So it appears that when the people attack the government, as, well, one of the people did when Timothy McVeigh attacked the government, then the government gets bigger. But when the government attacks the government gets bigger. Of course, in fairness, I guess I should point out that Timothy McVeigh was not entirely a private citizen. He was an ex-military officer. Or maybe I should rephrase that. Not sure he was an officer, but he was ex-military, and so was Michael Fortier. If we take this to its logical end, I guess we should point out that Osama bin Laden himself was also technically, maybe not technically a government worker, but had been on the United States government payroll. So maybe the people never have levied an attack on the government. Maybe it's only government workers and ex-government workers who attack the United States government. This is Dave Ridley signing out for RidleyReport.com this August 1st, 2008, after anthrax attack suspect Bruce Ivins offed himself in anticipation of prosecution. Or allegedly, I should say, offed himself. You can never quite be sure these days.
This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by Freaking.com.